I have a simple program here with an amount of money, 200, and interest of 5%. I calculate the increment of my money, of the interest, and then I add the increment to my current money to see how much money I have now. I print it and it's 210. So 200 plus 5% is 210. Now, this piece of code is very interesting because I could use it in different ways with different amounts. This is where functions are very useful. A function is basically a list of instructions that you group and give it a name. Let's see. This thing here is actually a function. A function has a line called the header and then curly braces and a list of instructions. So I will create a similar function. I will basically copy this function here below, and usually functions need to have a different name. The function here is called main. It's a special one, and I will talk about that later. What is doing the new function? It's going to print the incremented money. So I should use a name like that. Print incremented money, for example. Notice the camel case naming convention. I will not explain these two words for now. Void is the return type, and I will explain later. These are the parameters, and I will also explain them later in this video. For now, I remove them. I have already my function prepared, so I don't need to repeat this piece of code. I can remove it and just call the function. To call a function, I write the name of the function and then parentheses and semicolon in Java. So this program is actually doing the same as before. If I run it, you will see also the output of 210, the same as before. I can call a function several times. So if I call it 3 times and I run the program, the instructions in the function will be executed 3 times. So you see the output 3 times. It would be interesting to use different amounts every time, not use 205% every time. So what can I do? I actually can pass values when I call a function. I do it inside the parentheses. For example, here I want 205%, but the second time maybe I want 305%, and the third time I want to use 100 and another percentage, like 15%, for example. What do I need to do? I need to receive these values from here. So I need to declare variables. They are actually called parameters here inside the parentheses of the function. So for example, the first value is money and the second value is the interest. In Java, it is mandatory to specify the type of these parameters. The first one is a double and the second one is a double. In this case, the type is the same. The parameters are like variables, so I don't need to declare the variables again here. Actually, I don't want to. I want to receive the values from the parameters, not use always 205%. So I remove those declarations. Now, when I run the program, you will see the 3 different results: 210, 315, and 115 for the 3 different combinations of money and interest. Let's add another parameter to my function. For example, I want to change this string, this text, and use a different text every time. For example, the first time I want to print amount 1, and then amount 2, and then amount 3, just to show a simple example. What I need to do, I need to add another parameter inside the parentheses. In this case, I will call it message, and the type is string because it's a text. And I can use this parameter, this variable, in this function. Instead of this fixed message, I use the variable message. Let's run the program, and you will see something strange. And it's that the number amount 1 is together with the amount of the money, so it doesn't look very well. I can do, for example, put a space here in every string when I call the function, but I think it would be better to add here another small string, space, and a colon. I think it will look better. So when I run now my program, you will see the message, then a colon, and then the incremented money. So it looks a little bit better. Now let's say that I start with some money, 100, and I want to add an interest of 5%. during some months. I start with the month 0. You have seen this example in a previous video. So I want to do it while months is less than 3, because I want to do it for 3 months. And now I will use my function here. I want to increment the money every time. Don't forget to add 1 to the months in each iteration. Otherwise, the loop will never end. I will pass some message, for example, amount, and then the money and the interest. As you can see, I can pass also variables when I call a function. So I can pass numbers and also variables. What I'm passing is actually the value contained in the variable. I can remove this. And what happens if I run my program now? This while loop is repeated 3 times, but I don't change the money variable. For that reason, my function is always printing the same. The money 100 plus 5%. I need to get the incremented money, which is inside the function. How can I get it? I need to get that value and put it inside the money variable and update the money variable. How can I get this value, the incremented money, calculated in my function? A function can actually return some value, some variable, for example, with the instruction return. I can say return incremented money. I need to change one thing. Since incremented money is of type double, I need to specify double here, because void means that the function doesn't return anything, and now it returns something. When a function returns something, I can assign the value that it produces, the value that it returns, to another variable, like in a normal assignment. So in this case, the money variable will get the value calculated by the function. Now, in each iteration of the loop, I get the updated money. So you can see now how the money is changing every time with a 5% of interest every time. And I will print the final amount of money after the while loop. Actually, it's not very usual to print things inside functions. You can do it when you're learning programming to understand what it's doing, but I will remove this statement, because actually what I'm interested in is the final amount of money. I noticed that I'm not using the message parameter in my function, so I can remove this argument that I'm passing here, and I remove the parameter message here. Also, now I noticed that my function is not printing anything, so I will change the name of my function. Let's say, for example, calculate, because it's actually calculating the incremented money. It is very common to change the name of a function or a variable when you notice that it's doing a different thing, or when you think of a better name. Let's write this program in Kotlin. First, I will copy the main function, because in Kotlin there is also a main function. So I copy the code here, I will fix it, I put var to declare the variables, and then the print function, which in Kotlin is println. And now I will copy the function, to calculate incremented money. It should go after the main function. The main function goes from here to here, so after that I copy my new function. What are the differences? In Kotlin you write fun, the word fun, before the name of the function. So I write fun, and then comes the name of the function, and then parentheses and the parameters like in Java. But the type of each parameter goes on the right side and after a colon character. So I move the double word to the right side, and also in Kotlin the double type goes with capital letter. The return type of the function also goes on the right side after the closing parenthesis. Here I will also fix the var declaration of the variables. And here I have a problem because Kotlin thinks that money is an integer and it's a double. So I can fix it by just writing .0 to let it know that it's a double, a number with decimals. I run it and I get the same result as in my Java program. I could remove the semicolons at the end because they are not needed. Now let's write the JavaScript version. I will copy the Kotlin code And remember that in JavaScript there is no main function, so I just remove it. I remove the header of the function and the closing curly brace, and I just move this to the left. Now I need to change the println call because in JavaScript is console log. And let's fix the function declaration. In JavaScript, instead of fun, you write function. And then you don't need the type of the parameters. So I just remove the type of the parameters and also the type of the return of the function, because in JavaScript, types are not declared. And that's it. I run the program and I get the same result as in Kotlin and in Java. Oh, I just noticed that I should use let to declare variables in JavaScript. Var is the old way of doing it, but you should use let. Anyway, you can find old code in JavaScript that is using var, and it's actually doing the same. Let's now write the Python version. I will copy the JavaScript code and paste it in a Python program. I need to remove the declarations of the variables because in Python you don't declare variables, and use the print function to print things. The interesting part is in the while loop. If you remember, I don't need to write the parentheses. I need to write a colon on the right side, remove the curly braces, and move the statements to the right. For the function, in Python, instead of writing function, you write the word def for definition. And instead of the curly braces, you write the colon character, and you have to move the instructions to the right. It is important to have this space on the left of the instructions, because this way Python knows that these instructions belong to the function, or the while loop, or the if statement. Another thing I have to fix is that in Python, when you use a function, the definition of the function should go before, should be written before. So I will move it to the beginning of my program, and I need to fix this. I need to use string interpolation, or I will have an error here. I run the Python program and the result is the same. This program is correct, but I should change some things. For example, the naming convention for the functions and variables is snake case with these underscores. So I should change the names of the functions and the variables. Although the program was working anyway, you should follow the conventions of each language. I also noticed that I left the semicolons at the end of the instructions, but they are not written in Python. So I will remove them. But anyway, the program will still yield the same output.